You're still watching The Point, and good to have you back after the break. We continue with our conversations here. Of course, when you look at the matters to do with development, development is actually wide, and development goes in quite a number of aspects. And which aspects, most of them may rotate around one, looking at what affects development, what impacts development, what leads to this, what leads to that. So exactly that is where we are definitely trying to have a build-up of our conversation, onto which we are really trying to understand, is there a level at which the country can grow, or a level that we can reach onto if we are to continue having various conversations. Today's topic, though, is analyzing the infrastructure sector towards the economic development of Uganda, and trying to as well get into proper context with understanding it. My guest for today is Geoffrey Odong, who is a program officer from Coast Uganda, as we understand more of this. Geoffrey, the road sector is one of those that we've not looked at in regards to its performance last year. And the performance of the roads network is not only going to the Ministry of Works and Transport as the overseer, but also goes to lots of visibilities that we've seen in the transport network. Looking through when it comes to the infrastructure, looking at the roads that have been constructed per se, that is all the performance. Looking at the roads that have, that we are looking at in regards to whose maintenance kicked off at the end of the financial year, that is still looking at the performance. So when you look back at the just concluded financial year 2022-2023, how has been the sector? Where have been the key issues that government needs to navigate through to at least see that we have less reports coming in from Uganda's road system or infrastructure development in regards to the space of transport?
In terms of performance of the road sector,
okay.
I have first of all to start by putting a small disclaimer that in terms of percentage performance, I think the Ministry of Works and Transport would perhaps give specific percentage. But from the looks of things that we see, when cost intervention was not yet in place, I am able to say the level at which road works were being delivered had a lot of difficulties. How? Especially in terms of participation. Participation from citizens who are the beneficiaries of this road construction or road works, and then participation of other stakeholders. And some of these stakeholders are contractors whose fields are implementation of contract works. So if they lack information, then therefore, from the different studies we have done, we realize that there has been sometimes less competition for the tenders. And if there are less competition, quality, even quantity of some of the road works can be compromised. And if it is compromised, then the design of the road would not have been met in terms of implementation, because as I stated earlier on, if you are doing a particular construction and you're aware that the people around you have little information about the project you're undertaking, therefore you take that particular contractor take the leverage to do whatsoever they can do, and therefore either the size of the road can be compromised in terms of width, the quality in terms of compartment of the different layers can be affected, and that leads to poor road construction, which eventually leads to frequent road damage, and that called for the frequent repair we are talking about. So after we started engaging in having different discussion with different institutions, of course, under stewardship of the Ministry of Works and Transport, we were able to see, using the cost standard, many of the entities that are engaged in the road construction have slowly started to disclose information, and this information have been able to facilitate the different players to take in interest in construction work under the infrastructure. So, competition for tenders started to rise up, and when we look at the study that we did in 2018, that was launched in 2019, you realize that the number of bids per tender, if you compare with the one of 2020, you realize that there was an increase in the numbers of bids received per tender. And that shows that by mere fact of disclosure of contract or procurement information, the process begins to improve because more people get interested, and when they get interested, they also take action. Citizens will monitor work, road construction. Contractors will look for opportunity to be the one to win the tenders. So when they get those tenders, then they will work harder to do their best so that they are able to get better recommendation for future infrastructure work or for future ability to get more tenders so that they're in the business. So we have seen that slowly improving. Now the other bit, much as we are saying our intervention also contributed to help us improve, there were some of the negatives in terms of acceptance of the work that we do. The biggest question is, why do we need this information? Where are we taking this information? By some of the entities. But eventually when they realized that we were promoting access to information to make sure that contractors have access to those information, and therefore they participate in the bidding process. And then when they participate in the bidding process, it also improves image and credibility of these entities that perhaps were still reserved to disclose information. And therefore, that means the entity are also benefiting in terms of building their credibility because of the nature of information that they post, that attract more participation from the different stakeholders to obtain or to win these tenders. So we have seen over time this is improving. Also, when we look at the quality of road delivered, more citizens have become responsive. When we were launching a report of the analytical studies that we conducted, during a panel discussion, one panelist said, I want to appreciate costs for creating maximum awareness to citizens. Now many roads are being done with either less compensation or without compensation to the communities that perhaps were affected by either road enlargement or road opening. So they say, we need road, we don't have accessibility, you come and open the road. And I think that is a very good attribution on the benefit of disclosure of information, where citizens understand the merits of why they should be able to participate, collaborate with government to make sure the services they want is actually delivered for them to benefit out of it.
Okay. Yes. I think by the look of things, you've weighed in some options to clearly show the viewers that it does seem like the government has done comfortably well in making sure that the citizens are aware of the provisions provided. And as well, you've highlighted that at least there's quite a number of road networks that have been worked upon. 2023-2024 is the financial year that we're looking at. as a recovery for most of Uganda's sectors that were definitely bedridden during the COVID-19 pandemic. Speaking of which, most of them are highly boosted by a stable road network. You look at entirely the economy, because you really need a stable transportation system, whether it's air, water, and especially road, has to be on point in order to at least understand that the entire economy is growing, really. But my other worry here is, and my other concern is, are we putting our money into the rightful priorities when it comes to allocations to the roads? Because initially, in the other half of our discussion, I did mention that we have issues in regards to meeting deadlines. And especially we as a country. For example, this year, we were supposed to have a terminal of the standard gauge railway in Kampala. It didn't happen. 2016 was the year when they made a projection that in the next 5 years, the standard gauge railway would be in place. Not only that, there was also a situation where they actually came out to reveal that in 2022, we shall have a terminal in Kampala, a world-class facility of a terminal, just like the ones we have in the people in Kenya and Tanzania are having. We didn't meet the deadline. How are we going to create, awareness, especially when it comes to these public procurement details, to ensure that, of course, you've mentioned the issue to do with transparency, but how are we going to ensure that our projects are sealed, done, and have met the deadlines? But most importantly, how are we going to create accountability for the people who get these contracts?
I think most importantly, I would want to appreciate PPDA and then Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development for initiating the electronic government portals.
Okay.
This system is very important because it facilitates access to information in regards to all procurement processes. Okay. That is online, and you are able to obtain such information in real time. Now, whereas there are still difficulties in terms of integrating the government procurement portal into the government portal, attempt from the study that we saw, whereas it is slow, work has started. There is positive move towards ensuring that all procurement processes are uploaded and stakeholders are able to get information in real time. And this is also coming at a time when costs have also been very supportive of government in ensuring that the open contracting for infrastructure data standards are equally integrated into the system. And now, this dashboard would contribute a lot in terms of addressing the issue of race. Why? Any entity that would be able to post any information, citizens are able to get that information in real time. It is posted now, if, like the WhatsApp thing here we have. The moment I send you, in your phone, you're able to immediately see the information. And I think at that speed, if all government systems are integrated into the e-procurement and also integrating the open contracting for infrastructure data standard, then there is likelihood of addressing gap that arise from delays, concealment of information, and all this. Of course, even when the electronic government portal is there, sometimes these are digital by requirements under the PPT app. All entities are supposed to report on all procurement processes, either on physical or on the E system. But also we know as human beings sometimes we may not because of different justification that one may have. You find those information that should have been uploaded, it is not what? Uploaded. And that's why it calls for physical performance monitoring by the entity mandated by law, and that is PPDA, and they also do it. And I think integrating and having this multi-pronged approach to ensuring that information are made public and in real time will help as far as addressing the challenges in the procurement process is concerned. Of course, I also stated at some point that maybe this road, citizens are accepting this. Of course, there are many challenges that are still there. I cannot say 100% things are good, things are not good. There are many things that need still to be done, but it can be done faster if we are able to integrate this system we are talking about, the open contracting for infrastructure that is standard into the electronic government portal, whereas we also have the government procurement portal. All these system, if it accommodates all the government system in this process, then we are able to ensure transparency. And transparency, once we have it, which means people have access to information about particular infrastructure data. And therefore, that data will help them to all these entities accountable, all government accountable for whatsoever action is being taken under infrastructure deliveries that we see them in Uganda.
Okay, and from the cost perspective, which key issues do you think are going to have, lagged the production process or the progress of, your work of supervision, your work of transparency, programs and everything? What do you think has been lagging you behind, and what needs to be done?
One thing which I want to make it very clear, for us we don't supervise.
Okay.
Any entity.
I love that
we don't supervise, but we support entities.
Okay.
First of all, to understand the value of disclosing information, because information is what is power.
I want to understand in this support.
Yes.
You don't follow up because, in my understanding of supervision, maybe you're supposed to be following up on the same.
It's about monitoring in a very simple term, and I want to stick there.
Okay.
Because when I begin to do supervision, then
that is not your role.
Then it should go with legal mandate.
Okay.
Which we, as
your provisions,
we might not have, but we have, even within the framework of the Constitution, to monitor government programs. Just monitoring. Monitoring means you see standards of delivery of this infrastructure, and then you compare with what is happening on the ground. Then you will be able to derive meanings from the information that entities have posted in the government procurement portals. So gaps in those portals in terms of different information that are put there. Of course, I said we do studies. And these studies, the analysis that we have just done, we looked at about 5 key broad parameters or categories. We were looking at performance monitoring. Under performance monitoring, we would be able to see if contract is there, signed between contractor, entity, and then the quality of these deliveries.
Okay.
Is there variation in terms of market prices and then the contract price? Because those variation indicates so many things. And our role is to advise that during our monitoring, we were able to see a lot of variation.
Yes.
Variation in maybe agreement, there were adjustments, and why did this adjustment come about? So when we are able to see that, then if there are no supporting document to justify the fact about that variation, then we signal that this could be a red flag area that requires critical attention of entities that are obligated to supervise, monitor, and then also reprimand in terms of either sanction and reward for best practices. So, from the analysis, as you said,
yes,
we have seen what seemed to be lagging is still on some of the contract attracting low level of bids, which means this comes as a result of perhaps low level of disclosure of information pertaining that tender. So if there are low information disclosed about these tenders, then few contractors would be aware, and therefore the few would be the only one to apply. And that means it limits competition by contractors, so that at the end of the day we are able to get the best out of the best, so that quality service delivery in terms of physical infrastructure projects deliveries are done. So we feel that was still low. From the study we did, the dashboard, we sampled 131 projects, and this 131 project was coming from 12 entities. And these entities, the total sum of that project worth 357 billion. Now, if we are saying the tenders attracting only 1.38 bids, then there's a problem. What could be the problem? The problem could have come simply because the information about the contract was not public, and therefore few people participated.
Okay.
And that affects already. That for us is a problem, which must be addressed. And it can only be addressed by these different entities embracing disclosure of infrastructure information or data for the public to understand, so that they take responsibility, participate in the process, either to monitor project or to participate in the tendering process.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we do return after the break, we shall be looking at the findings in the report that was filed by, of course, the findings that you've had in the report, so that the viewers can easily understand what is in there and what you're looking forward to doing, or what recommendations are also in that particular one. Now, our last part of the conversation will be coming up shortly. Stick around with us. You're still watching The Point, where we analyze economic policies. I'm Joran Paul Sonko. I'm still with Geoffrey Odong. We return shortly.